The only birds I could see were an industrious banditry of black-capped chickadees at the suet feeder. They seemed robustly ascetic little creatures, like tiny chattering monks. I'd read they were able to lower their body temperature by up to 12 degrees on cold winter nights to conserve energy. Torpor was the word the bird books used. Hummingbirds supposedly did the same thing, but they also had to eat 60 times their body weight a day just to stay alive, at least according to a fragment of a poem by Charles Wright I kept above my computer. Now that's a life on the edge, the fragment concludes. I have to go, I said. But Vanessa had begun to expand on her vision for Dad's funeral arrangements, and she was in full voice now. Should there be an old Land Rover or a donkey cart for a hearse? And was that Polish priest from Old McCushy still alive? The one who had been at my wedding, because he had lived in the bush long enough not to blink if we had asked him to have the service under a baobab tree instead of in a church, right? And perhaps we could get people from the villages to make a choir. There are heaps of those apostles all over the place, Vanessa pointed out. But do they sing? Or do they just sit around draped in white bedsheets moaning? I said I didn't know, but I'd never forget the time Mum got in dust-up with the apostle who'd moved onto the edge of the farm with his several wives and his scores of children, and whose vegetable plot had strayed onto her overflowing pet cemetery. Mum had yelled obscenities, planted her walking stick in the soil, and declared turf war. In return, the apostle had thrown rocks at Mum's surviving dogs, brandished his staff, and recited bellicose passages from the Old Testament. An apoplectic apostolic, Mum had reported with relish, although her neck had been out for weeks after the apostle shook her, just like a Jack Russell with a rat. Vanessa took another considered drag off her cigarette. Oh, right, she said. I'd forgotten about that. Maybe Catholics might be better after all. They'll know proper hymns. Plus, Catholics have wine at intermission, don't they? And Mum doesn't have a history of battling them, does she? Not yet, I said. And what about entertainment for afterwards? Vanessa asked. People will have driven for days. They'll be expecting a thrash. It'll have to be a huge party from beginning to end, with a calypso band, Harry Belafonte, and buckets of rum punch. Perhaps we could organize boat races on the Zambezi and dugout canoes. That would be groovy. And what about a greasy pole over one of Mum's fish ponds for the especially inebriated mourners, because you know it's going to be alcoholics unanimous from beginning to end. And maybe we could have a maze like the one we had at Mum and Dad's 40th anniversary, Vanessa said. Remember? I would never forget that either. There'd been shots of something fairly stiff at the entrance to the maze, and some guests got so drunk right off the bat they were stranded in dead ends until dawn. But I didn't bring this up. Nor did I say that I thought Vanessa's suggestions were murderously bad. How many funerals did she want in 1 week? In the interests of time, mine chiefly, I said I thought they were all ideas worth considering. That is, when Dad is actually dead, I said, and then I added, in a way that I hope suggested a signing off. Okay, Van, I'm quite busy here. But Vanessa wouldn't be deterred. She poured herself another glass of wine and rattled on. No, she said. We have to plan now. We'll be too distraught at the time. She reminded me she wouldn't be able to do any of the readings because she was illiterate, as well we all knew. Mum certainly couldn't do a reading or much of anything because she would be an inconsolable wreck. And Richard shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a pulpit. He'll just grunt and growl and terrify the congregation, Vanessa said. No, Elle, when Dad dies, you're going to have to do the urology. A week later, March 8, 2010, Dad turned 70. The day came and went, and in spite of Psalm